Okay, hello and welcome to this Bytes and Insight presented by Lightning Tools. My name is Knut and I'm here today with Richard.
Hey everyone.
And Richard, you work for Two to Lead, but maybe, and I have known you like for like don't know how many years now. It's been a while, so it's make me feel old, in a sense. But and of course I know all the things you are well known for, like and so on. But if you could please just tell us a little bit about yourself and also a little bit about Two to Lead to all our
Sure.
attendees.
Yeah, I'm a Microsoft MVP of many years, as you said. I spend a lot of time with customers on road mapping, so working through technology strategy and considerations like that. And then our organization helps customers with, of course, strategy and advisory stuff, but a lot of implementation, deployment, adoption, piloting, and solution work around Microsoft 365, employee experience, and more recently, a lot of Copilot, on top of Power Platform or in adjacent to Azure work. So it's been an exciting time to be a Microsoft partner helping customers, and it's been now I think almost a year and a half of doing Copilot from the preview days to deployments across customers. So it's been really exciting doing the work that we've been doing.
Yeah, I think like it's a big shift in a sense, like in what we are doing, like in like some circles for Microsoft. So of course, like as a Microsoft experts, it's always you can never rest in a sense because there's always something new that you need to learn and a new technology or a new product stack that comes from Microsoft. And of course, yes, we have had Copilot for more than a year now, but what are the latest and greatest that you can talk about when it comes to Copilot?
Yeah, it's it was a big year at Ignite and a big year for announcements and improvements. There's a lot of new stuff shipped around Copilot. So, Copilot 6 months ago is very different than the Copilot of today, both in user satisfaction, in terms of capabilities, in terms of accessibility as well. There's been a lot of little improvements. At Ignite, there were so many announcements from now having prompt gallery, having ability for people to share and add prompts to it, to being able to, track, by likes and things like that, trending and insights there, that the prompt gallery won't just be for first party Microsoft prompts, within Copilot, but even for your own agents that you create, which of course is a big area of investment. And it's going to be the emphasis for most organizations in 2025. And then of course, we also have that working for third parties. So as third parties light up more experiences and agent experiences, especially, you'll get more of that. So it's been really exciting for adoption because, there's all these improvements that help with that, from reporting to, built-in experiences, even Copilot actions now. And then on the technical side, these models are getting more capable. And in particular, what we're seeing is a better understanding of how to enable organizations to calibrate, to tune and control these models, both from a security perspective and from extracting value from their existing content perspective. And I think the now generally available agents in SharePoint, Copilot agents in SharePoint, is a great example of that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's. I will also play a little bit around with the Copilot agents in SharePoint or SharePoint agents, depending how you want to call them. And I do see that this can help a lot and benefit a lot for companies, especially if you look under the intranet umbrella that you and me have
Sure.
been working with for long. Because like one of the things that I know from working with intranets for the different companies and delivering that for the last 10 years ish, everybody struggled with findability, like how to find the important information that they are seeking. Like for instance, like health guidance or policies or an employee handbook, this kind of things. And that's where I really think that agents in SharePoint could be really great and cool. And I already tested it out to kind of see how that can work and kind of helping the employees to find that knowledge that they're looking for when they're like looking like how to search for vacation, like how to like how many vacation days do we have in our organization and so on. So what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when we think about user scenarios, we think of, the traditional ones. You want to find that document, but they actually don't want that document. They want an answer to a particular part of that document. And so, abilities for Copilot, as an example, to not just get that document, but then to answer like, here is that term. Here is that agreement. Here is that, specific thing you're looking for. That's a pretty powerful thing. And when you combine it with the fact that, using these agents and other experiences, we can connect that to other data sets, and then you can maybe get answers to questions like, in ServiceNow or in Workday, you could ask those agents questions like, well, how much time do I have, available for my time off, and so on and so forth. So there's a mixture of things. Some questions can be answered with our data, and some questions can be answered with our own expertise. Think of like in Q&A and in Viva Engage and places like that, where we have people with authority, with expertise answering questions, that being, lifted and brought into Copilot adds a lot of value. So there's a lot of like layers to this. It's not just one dimensional of, oh, of course, we want bots and we want to have these bot experiences. It's how it kind of blends together. And, even the most recent announcements Microsoft has shared around having a new first-party employee self-service agent, which will be pre-built and people can use to extend and build their own adaptation on top. That agent is really interesting to me because, Microsoft has one of the better HR bots. They spend a lot of time, many years, building this really extensive HR and IT service, self-service bot for users. And it was part of their intranet strategy, it was part of those other elements. And yet that bot, was outperformed by these Copilot experiences. So, this new sort of employee self-service agent experience that, customers themselves will be able to get their hands on. It's in private preview right now, but shipping soon. Increased accuracy for HR related questions. It was driving increases in self-help success around service issues. And they're not minor, like 25% increase in accuracy, 36% increase in self-help. And this is for a really mature, organization that spent a lot of money and effort on these bots. So I think, of course, any customer that's already explored these ideas, they're going to get more out of Copilot experiences. And, again, what we're really trying to see is, thus far, everyone's been focusing on technical readiness. How do we enable this stuff? How do we get it set up the right way? How do we responsibly empower AI in our organizations? Now we're shifting to scaling these digital assistants, these Copilot agents across the organization. And in, hopefully at some point in 2025, your organization will transition towards thinking about how do we not just scale our digital assistants, but how do we really start to take full advantage of functional agents of various types. And, there were 6 different distinct agent announcements at Ignite just a little while ago. Those are all really important, every one of them. And that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more that organizations are themselves building today. There are more that Microsoft as a first party will continue to enable for, pre-built experiences, making them more accessible. And, unlike low code, I feel like these agent experiences and Copilot is not lowercase d developer skills, right? No code. They're really accessible to a lot of business users. And I think that makes a big difference today.
Yeah, because again, it's all about helping the people to find the information they're looking for in various ways. There are, of course, always different paths to finding the right information in a sense, but of course, also you need to have that the hardness of the information in the first place. That you can trust whatever comes out of the agents that you're building. So I do also think that with the agents in Copilot, it will help on that as well, because the kind of the data that is working on are much smaller data sets than what kind of the full Copilot experience is working on. Because again, if I'm asking Copilot something and I get a wrong answer, then that kind of the point of Copilot is also gone. So what's your thoughts around that?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll share my screen for a second, and maybe what I can do is kind of walk you through at least the way I think about this particular one with an example or two. So I've got the employee self-service agent open there, but let me grab a desktop view. So here's this is a generic contract management site. Inside of this site, I've got service agreement. I've got confirmation letters. I've got a number of different documents. Some of them have enriched with metadata using SharePoint Premium. Some of them are sort of out of the box assets and resources. But there's quite a few documents in this site. So one of the things that I love, a big fan, is that these agents don't require any effort on the end user. So every single site has been empowered with Copilot, not just to create pages as announced and a few other things, but also just to be able to ask questions. So again, this is the out of the box one. I haven't changed anything. I've just been working around in the site, creating service agreements, confirmation letters, things like that. And I can ask questions like, so let's ask a simple question here. Does Adil have any agreements today with us? And so I'm going to ask this question, and what it's going to do is it's going to look across the site, across all of the documents within this site, and it's going to try and find an agreement. You can see there's a statement of work and a confirmation letter with Adil Li. I didn't say who it was. That's the person I was looking for, so that's really great. We can see the references. Those are the two documents. If I want to know where these are and understand more about them, I can code to them and find out information. So this alone is really valuable because we could then say, oh, I want to get other information. Again, not limited just to the SharePoint site, but as you can kind of see things like this, like, okay, what about recent communications? Think of how this might blend with the normal things you'd use Copilot for. And that's a really big value proposition, and not limited, of course, just to the SharePoint experience, but of course, this is a great entry point for people. But let's say, I have a subset of agreements, like these service agreements. And what I really want is I want to create an agent specifically to answer questions around these agreements. Well, in that scenario, what I could do is I could just do a list view here. I could select the agreements, or if you've ever played with views before, you can actually pick and design a view, or you can use a folder or a number of other types of filter conditions. And then I can create an agent from those. So when I create an agent, it basically will then create an agent based on my rules or however I'm configuring things. So in this model, maybe I'll do it for the whole folder or this library of service agreements. Now, I've already done one of these, but let's just do it as a creation experience here, just to kind of show how easy it is. So I've created a new agent. I'm going to open that agent up. This is a .copilot file. This agent can now answer questions, but instead of looking across the whole of the site, which has confirmation letters, it has benefits, reimbursements, it has all sorts of other legal documents. Here now I'm only looking at the ones that are in this service agreement subset, and so I could ask questions like, what is the total value of, what is the highest total value of an agreement today? This is a terribly worded one, but let me ask that question. It's going to again look through these particular documents, and then it's going to look only for that to give me an information on this one. Now, one of the things that's really powerful about this is we can configure it. So I'm going to show you another one here where we can edit it. And again, the sources can be based on view, based on a number of different filters. And then again, 20 sources per agent. These numbers will increase over time. And then instead, what I've done is I've pre-built some behaviors. So these are basically starter prompts. And again, I'm looking for what services agreements are still active. I want to get that response. I can get that there. I've got some instructions for the agent and how it formats that. And again, we can start to get specific information back from this. I think I had a question about what was the highest total value. So let's do that same question. The previous one was just probably because I created the filter and only did it on the folder level. But if I did this really quickly and saw this information come through, then basically, there we go. That's what it should have said in the first case. But again, this is one of the things that's powerful about these agents. They're really great because you can get questions, you can get the information you need. But with AI, it's not always reliable. And so the trick is we use these types of tools along with more traditional ones. Like here, what's happening in this particular collection is we're using something called models and SharePoint Premium to extract metadata alongside this experience. So if I'm looking for something like total value, I might have extracted that, and this might be more reliable, right? If you think of predictability and accuracy, whereas maybe this is a great way to get quick answers to questions. And so you can kind of use a combination of both. And again, the user is in control at all times. So I think these are really great examples of how to start using these agents. But for most people, we're just kind of scratching the surface. And I think the key is the more people start to create these agents, the more we start to really understand the lowercase p processes. This is telling me that there are people, if this was used a lot, right, like lots of people were using this particular agent, we would then know that this particular agent is popular. And because it's popular, that tells us that lots of people are working on service agreement related processes. We could then look at the nature of the questions they're asking, things like that, the types of prompts. And then based on those types of insights, we could improve it. So instead of it just doing these things, maybe what we want to do is allow it to generate communication related to service agreements on our behalf. So maybe one of the actions I could create using Copilot Studio for this one would be, hey, one of the things I want to do is when I find total value of some of these things, I might want to create a report for that. And so, could we potentially help with that? Sometimes even just looking at something as simple as this tells us that there's a need here. We can go back to normal out of the box capabilities and then get into things like Power BI reports that are built in, visualizing a library, let's say, and help that particular user. So more targeting, more insight, more feedback from the business around how people are working is going to be empowered via these agents. So it's not just the agent functionality, it's what it means for how people will change how they work and what that means for visibility, for IT, for other groups that can proactively digitally support them. So just really exciting times for these features. Again, they're new, they're powerful, but when you start to combine them with the ways that we can action them in new ways, that leads to some really interesting opportunities for IT and for organizations overall.
Yeah, and everyone can create their own agents. Yes.
That's right. So if you're a site owner or somebody who has like access to content, you can create them. And then very soon, I can't remember the public dates, but soon you'll have the ability, like in OneDrive, to create agents, for yourself. So lots of different ways for people to get started, and then lots of ways for people to create and share them. Those agents can be shared easily in Teams. When you share them in Teams, even really clever things like, let's say I add a new person to the team. Okay, someone asked the agent that question. Well, maybe that person, it detects that person doesn't have access to that information. So the agent will say, hey, before I give you this answer, because it has information, it's extracting information from documents that somebody in this team doesn't have access to, is this okay to share? And then, you can, of course, say yes. You could go give that person access to that, core site, which might be a different location. Or you could say, you know what, no, maybe this is a good thing to rethink. So everything from like security, where we have a combined and shared experience, to, like these are all been thought through, right? Which is really powerful. And again, this is only going to get better over time as these agents become more predictable, reliable, and capable around different formats and different types of questions, which is naturally happening, as Microsoft adapts the newer model capabilities underlying all this.
Yeah, no, I think that for me, like the SharePoint agents and so on are really interesting. I think it's something that, like, like Ignite next year, we're going to see like a huge number from Jeff Teeper again, like talking about like how many agents has been built in SharePoint, like how we always like talk about like how many sites and how many petabytes and all that kind of stuff that are in SharePoint these days. So with the kind of the agents, it's just like a file that is stored in your SharePoint library in a sense, and you will certainly have a lot of those as well. But are there not any risks that somebody will go in and delete the file itself if they have permissions because they don't understand the scope of it?
So agents themselves are .copilot files. So you've got, version history, you've got, recycling bin, you've got, different ways to share and control the agent. And then you have, of course, the content that the agent's referencing is still managed like normal. So it still has the normal conditions and permissions and things like that. The experience when someone interacts with an agent, if they don't have that other data, then they're not going to get those responses, right? So if you were to use that agent, you only had access to 5 of those agreements and I had access to 10, we might get, I might find 3 documents that are still active. You might find 2. When you ask that question, like how many are active or what's the highest value. But importantly, you can still share these agents, which means we call them shared experiences with AI. So instead of you using AI and me using AI, we can have a collaboration with AI. And that's done in sort of 2 major ways today. We have something called Copilot pages, which allows us to interact with AI kind of together in a shared canvas around that, which is really, really powerful. And then the other way that we just kind of we're talking through is in Teams. So in Teams, I could potentially use it in that way. So let me actually, this is a good one to maybe show rather than tell. So I'll take 2 seconds here and do another little quick breakdown. And then if this is helpful for everyone. So, here we see an example of the new Copilot Pages artifacts. And one of the things that is shipping very soon in early 2025 is this ability where, you have these Copilot pages that are created. So just for reference, these pages, these artifacts, you have a Copilot chat, and then on the right, you have these pages that you're creating, right? So that's kind of the experience. Well, it turns out one of the things that's really powerful about this is once we've created these pages, we can have 2 people working on it and then using Copilot in the page itself. So here someone's used Copilot to create some content. We can see what they did. They created a section that talks about marketing tactics, right? And so I can see what prompt they used and what was resulting from. So it's not like when you have your own private prompting. Now we're using a combined canvas. So the whole idea is that we share and explore each other's prompts. So I can see, okay, that's how you've done it. I like a table format here. So you're going to do a table, put this into a table format. And then again, importantly, if you wanted to see, let's say you see these changes, you're like, oh, I want to see what I wrote originally because I don't remember. They could just click on that and then see that difference. So this whole idea of like versioning how we work on prompts, not just with prompt gallery, right? Sharing prompts and liking them and things like that, but collaborating, in AI models and how we work together. That's changing with Copilot pages today. And importantly, that's also changing with other experiences. So I'll give you one more example based on what we were just talking about, which is the idea of, let's see if I can find it really quickly, the idea of working through a shared experience around agents. Here we go. So these look like, I'm now transitioning. So I'm just looking for the Teams ones. All right. So let's take this one here. So what's happening here is we're sharing a agent to team. That's really easily done. So basically every agent has this share button, and then we can basically share it to a team, let's say. What that does is now it's just a link to the, everyone can just click on it to get to the agent, like a quick link. But if we add it to the chat, it becomes an active participant, similar to the facilitator agent in a meeting who would take AI notes on your behalf and help you, or the project management agent who will help you do project management tasks and build project plans. So we have these agents that are active. They're not just like passive participants. They're doing things on our behalf. So if we mention this agent now, then this agent will provide a response. Well, the difference is in our previous example, Knut, if you're asking the agent in that SharePoint site, of course, you're only looking for the information you have access to. But if we do it in this context, well, I might ask that agent a question, but I want everyone to see the response, right, to that discussion, whether it's in a meeting or in a chat or something like that. So now that I'm doing that here, there's this idea that it's giving this information. Well, if I add a new team member again and they don't have access, we have to understand that this means that, again, it's trying to answer my question in a more public way, in a more group setting. Well, some people in this don't have access to that. So you're putting control to validate, is this okay? This subset of information, is it okay to share with this particular team? And in most cases it is. And then, again, you have different things like you can mute it so it's not going to bother you again with that and things like that. But these are new experiences because we haven't really done AI collaboration like this before. We've seen its impact already on individuals. As they collaborate more, you see a reduction in what we call transactional meetings, low value things. We see an increase in high value collaboration. But now we're seeing an entirely new form of collaboration within the workplace, which is really using these AI artifacts and building, data that we eventually codify into a page or a document or, some sort of customer communication and email. And so that's a really exciting time, for us to kind of expand this. And these are all, now they're not, a few of those are early 2025, but a lot of these things have already shipped. So these aren't even like future discussions. They're, generally available in customers today with no extra cost. The agent experience is kind of crazy because you get 50 million items in the index now. So we can have, other content like file share content, website content, content from a particular system that you pull into Microsoft and then use that in your agent experience. And 50 million items is included at no cost. You've got anyone who has a Copilot license is going to be able to use as many of these as they want. Anyone who doesn't have a Copilot license, for the next 6 to 7 months, you essentially have 10,000 executions, 10,000 queries you can do of these agents at no cost. They don't need to have a Copilot license to do that. And then if you want to continue past that, or you want to continue after July for next year, then you'll be able to do that with this pay-as-you-go model. And that's even more compelling because a lot of frontline workers, a lot of people who we don't necessarily want to have the full power of Copilot, when we think of that $30 user license, well, they can benefit a lot from being able to use these agents, which has the raw power of Copilot and an experience there. And then that loop component that's called Pages, well, that's also shipping to the quote unquote free version of Copilot. So we've got this Copilot that's $30. There's an Entra, they call it Entra. It's confusing, I know. There's a web and another version of Copilot. Well, that actually has Pages. And so that means that co-authoring stuff we were just talking about, well, that can happen with people who have, they're just kind of using it for search, for web, for, lighter grounded. They're not grounding it based on their documents, because that's what you pay $30 a month for, but they're grounding it in other ways, or they're, using it to innovate and come up with ideas and brainstorm, write better. All of those things are now combined where we can collaborate regardless of whether you have the license. You can use these agents regardless of whether you have the license. And that's not even including like SAM now included, Viva Insights included, so that the ROI of Copilot and AI is accelerating and getting a lot easier to promote with both reports and data. And most importantly, because this new year is about agents, and it's about accelerating ROI, not about readiness anymore. I'm not saying that readiness doesn't matter if you're still working on it, but we are definitely moving from readiness into this sort of acceleration phase where we're trying to realize more value out of these AI investments.
Yeah, and I think it's super exciting times, like especially the changes to the license model of Copilot, as you mentioned, I think is a really key for it to be more broadly adopted, basically, because yes, I don't think everybody needs, in a sense, to have a Copilot in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on, if you are a frontline worker at least. So the fact that now you can use it as a pay-as-you-go, like next year at some point of time, and until that time you can start to play around with it more or less for free. It's a clever marketing stunt from Microsoft in a sense, because this will make more people to start to play with it and start to try to use it, and by this they will also hopefully see the added value that this brings to the table in a sense, because honestly saying, like, time is money. So if AI can help you to kind of perform your own tasks or find answers to your tasks more rapidly, you shouldn't be scared about that in a sense, because I don't know with you, Richard, but I hear sometimes that people are like scared about AI, and that it will take my job away from me and so on. But like, what is your thoughts around that, like as the final thought for today in a sense?
Yeah, I think it's overwhelmingly in 2024, we've talked about security, responsibly enabling it. And look, it's really important to do this the right way in organizations today. And what I feel like is happening now is not only are we seeing this acceleration focus on AI, but I think this is the year as well. If I could implore those who are listening to this, it's the year to talk about insecurity. So responsible AI needs security, but we need to talk about insecurity more. And we know some stuff, right? So lots of academia and research and our own experience, we've seen, vastly people underreport. So, we're relying on a lot of qualitative data today. When you ask people, how are you using these tools? We have to ask them, like, is it helping you? How many minutes a day are you getting back? Now we can extrapolate based on industry data and based on even digital behavior, like what's, we call them indirect signals in Viva Insights. We can kind of suggest that there's improvements. Like I said, less low value transactional meetings, a lot more high value meetings, a lot, more improved meeting satisfaction, all sorts of different outcomes that we can easily measure. But the qualitative measures, when you actually ask people more direct questions like, how much time are you saving? People tend to underreport because there's no incentive, there's no benefit for them saying, oh yeah, it's saving, all this heroic stuff I've been doing. It's way easier for me. And what we need to do is we have to acknowledge as this transformation occurs, that we have a responsibility as leaders, whether we're in IT, HR, or the organization. We have to find ways to help people feel more comfortable understanding when and how to use these tools. Now, agents and things like that are actually pretty useful, because when we start to see these advanced use cases, those are pretty promising that people are getting more value, especially if they're going back and using those agents again. So we're offsetting some of these qualitative risks with much richer data insights, right, for digital behavior. But I will say that this needs to be addressed. And I see real examples of problems here. And I'll give you my favorite one that we see the most often. And it's, by the way, the most important thing for ROI, for adoption, for these processes that we just mentioned as well. It enables both of them. In IT, we're used to taking the people who have the best digital skills, these digital first responders, these digital champions, and we give them these new experiences because they've been kind of our best friends. They've always helped us through this. Well, those people are typically distributed across the organization. So there's not very many in each like business line or each region or each team even. And that's fine. It makes sense. Like, oh, well, we'll distribute Copilot to those people. They'll be like super champions. They'll be digitally infused with new capabilities. But actually, two things. One, Copilot and these digital assistant tools, they improve in terms of productivity and gains. They improve much greater gains when you have lower digital skills. So those who have lower digital skills, take Excel, they're going to use conditional formatting. They're going to use pivot. They're going to use all these awesome capabilities that it can help with. Whereas an advanced user might not even ever touch those features. So they're not going to get the same benefit that another user will. And we see this time and time again. So again, what we need is a diversified audience that's accessing and using these tools, because we're going to gain more. Well, the trick there is we also know it's a competitive advantage. So we know people want it. They want these advanced features. And we know organizations struggle with figuring out the right allocation strategy. So the trick is this team-based nomination model. You say, okay, we know it's a competitive advantage, but we're going to make sure the people who need it most are going to get it first. To enable that, we have an open process where people can nominate 3 or more, not 1 or 2, 3 or more people in their team. They can explain why they want these tools. They have an expectation. If that team adapts and uses these tools, then they need to provide qualitative survey responses, all these other things. So we get, high compliance and we get better data and insights. They need to be able to share how it's working for them. They need to share prompts. They need to, maybe, work on at least an agent at some point in the near future, so we can explore, advanced scenarios with this, which drives a lot more ROI. And what's most important about that is teams, high velocity people that work together, saturating teams like this for licensing, is where the adoption curve really starts to take off, because people don't really learn from managers and they don't really learn from IT. They learn from each other. And so, you use it for Outlook. I don't really use it for Outlook. How are you using it for Outlook? Oh, I'm using it this way. And remember, these Copilot pages, all these experiences are showing people how each other is prompting. We're seeing literally how we work in new ways with these tools. And so the more you have interaction with other people who also have a Copilot license, naturally, the faster you're going to be able to adapt to these changes. So the number one thing that both helps with this particular challenge and in general is this idea of team-based nominations, and those drive a whole different approach for efficacy and success. But those are, that's one of so many tactics that we can do that addresses what I would call insecurity, as well as acceleration of ROI. But yeah, we do need to do this a lot better than we have been, for sure, in 2025.
Yeah, but the good thing is there's all these possibilities and options for 2025, and it's for sure not going to be boring because there's a lot of nice technology that we could play around and work with as well, and I'm pretty sure that there are going to be some new exciting things coming from Microsoft as well. And of course, it's only 1 year until the next Ignite as well. Next year it will be in San Francisco, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that is also great. And as a final thought, I just wanted also to kind of mention one thing that we actually do have in then Lightning tools that could in a sense come in and help companies that maybe are not ready yet when it comes to their Copilot readiness, because Copilot works with files in SharePoint, as everybody knows, and luckily in Lightning Tools we have built a product or tool for that called DeliverPoint. So for people that has joined that have not done the homework yet, or the grounding, or how to call it, like take care of their files and how things are shared in OneDrive and SharePoint yet, then please contact me, and I will be happy to give you a demo of DeliverPoint, or just go to our website and you can see here, just book a live demo. You can also watch the demo, and of course we have also free trials. So if you want to test before buy, then we can do that as well. And besides that, of course, I really appreciate you again, Richard, for joining us and for taking the time to share a little bit of the news that came out of Microsoft from their Microsoft Ignite this year, and also giving us a little bit sneak peek into what we should all focus on for 2025, because 2025 is just around the corner already.
It really
So
is, yeah.
it's not that long left. So yeah, good luck to you and to lead and continue to show like leadership and guidance to everyone in the community. I think a lot of people look towards you and your company and what they should do when it comes to AI. So I really appreciate that you shared all this knowledge with us here in the Bytes and Insights on our episode today about Copilot and AI. And of course, wish you a great holiday when that comes as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll meet each other at some kind of event around the world sooner or later. And from bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining, and thank you to all the attendees for joining as well. And feel free to drop us a line on LinkedIn or on the chat if you have any questions afterwards, and we'll be happy to respond. So thank you, Richard, and bye for now.
Take good care.